What's going on, family? Now, listen, a couple things that I've learned is that we all got lessons that we've learned, and we all got laundry that we need to fold. So this is Lessons in Laundry. My name is Cody Cooper, but that doesn't matter to you. It'll matter a little bit later on, but hey, I'm just here to fold this laundry and to go over some lessons that I've learned in my short 28 years. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna try to knock out as many of these as possible while I'm folding this laundry and see where it goes. Open and honest communication is the foundation of any healthy relationship. Well, so I think that is true. First and foremost, communication is key. Um, but I think oftentimes in relationships, we find this veiled form of open and honest communication. I've been a victim to it. I'm sure a lot of people have. It's one of those things where you're open and honest to an extent. And what I mean by that is you will, to some extent you'll be open and honest with your partner. But it's open and honest enough that you're not rustling any feathers. I've been in my fair share of relationships in the past, so I definitely think I can speak on this topic because, in past relationships that I've had, I've made a concerted effort to say, we're going to be open, we're going to be honest, because that's what makes good relationships. And I think that's something that we should all do. But when it comes to being open and honest and you want to do that, you need to be open and honest about the shit that gets sticky too. Some topics that I think people kind of try to be open and honest to an extent to not ruffle any feathers with is things like, let's say, religion. Let's say things about what you want or what you don't want, as far as things like that. Um, I think we get to a point where you like a person and you want to do everything in your power to make a relationship work. And it's flawed in a way because when it comes to relationships, it's one of those things where you want the happy ending, you want the storybook, but sometimes there are things that come up that are things that are going to be detrimental to the relationship and can teach you why maybe that relationship wasn't supposed to work. So going back to the original topic, I believe that you should be open and honest in your communication within any relationship. But I think it should be at all times. And I think it should be in uncomfortable situations. You should stand, it's 2024. We call it standing on business now. You set boundaries because when you don't do that and you may be, what's the word I'm looking for? You may be tiptoe around certain topics, or if shit gets uncomfortable, you're a little too agreeable to your partner for the sake of not making them feel any type of way. What it can lead to is the cracks that will eventually turn into, things that really break apart your relationship. So communication is key, but open and honest communication is a foundation of any healthy relationship. But it's a matter of how open and honest are you going to be to really cultivate that open and honest relationship. Because majority, in my opinion, the majority of people in relationships aren't fully open and honest. I've been a person who wasn't fully open and honest in past relationships, and it led to the demise, I think. Whether it was that or other things, it led to the demise. Individual growth matters. Both partners need room for personal growth and development. I think this is so essential in relationships. Um, it's 2024. We get into relationships in 2024, and because you have so much access to a person, you talking about Snapchat, you talking about Instagram, you talking about Facebook, you can literally see on these social media apps when someone is active. And it's one of those things, people want to be in all 24-hour communication, and then you get deeper into a relationship and maybe you move in together. Maybe you're just spending an ungodly amount of time with someone. This thing kind of happens where, which in my opinion can be detrimental. This thing kind of happens where your guys' lives are intertwined, and there's no Cody without whatever my significant other's name is. It becomes synonymous. And that's something that it's gonna happen because you're in a relationship with somebody. Y'all are joint at the hip. But I think it's so important to keep your lives separate to an extent. It's always nice to meet your significant other's friends and your significant other's families. But I think what happens in some relationships, and trust me, I say all this to say, even if I say that some of these things maybe don't work for me per se, they can work for other people's relationships, because I'm different than anybody else. And some people's situations or who they are calls for maybe them being more joined at the hip. But for me, um, when it's one of those things where every single thing that person does or every single thing I do, I need my partner to be with me. I need it to be us. I think it makes you lack a sense of self. And the hard part of that about that, and I can tell you because I've experienced it, is that, God forbid shit doesn't work out, right? And then you've been spending X amount of time, months, days, years being you and said other person. And then when that time comes and shit hits the fan, where it's like, yeah, this just isn't gonna work anymore. Now, especially if you've thrown yourself into it fully of I'm with this person, I am her, she is me, whichever way you split it, it's very, very, very scary to understand that, okay, now I'm back by myself. And I'm not sitting here telling you to prepare for the fact that, maybe that person at some point is not gonna be in your life. I'm gonna just give you all a little bit of game here. Prepare for the fact that sometimes at some point that person is gonna be in your life. Even if shit works out to the most degree, y'all are together for 50, 60 years, you grow old together, that person's gonna die at some point. So, not to be morbid, but um, keep a sense of self as far as what you like, what things you like to do by yourself or with your friends. Doesn't necessarily always have to be partner tied up. And it's obviously, you're with someone, especially if you're in a situation where you live with someone, where I have before. It's it's something that you have to make a concerted effort to understand, that like still take time for yourself and your friends and your things that you do as yourself. That is so important. So like, with going back to the topic of individual growth matters, you should have things that you're working towards. Obviously, you should have some stuff that you and your partner can work towards as well. But it is so important, in my humble opinion, that you understand that your what you need to do in your personal growth is essential, because at the end of the day, all you have is yourself. Diversity is enriching. Cultivate friendships with different people from different backgrounds and perspectives. I highly agree with that. As myself, I'm an African American, first generation. My dad's from Liberia. I grew up originally in like kind of an inner city New Jersey type of vibe, and I moved out to the Poconos, which was a big culture shock. But it's something that I'm so thankful for, because I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna keep it real honest with you guys. I believe that how you turn out and what you turn out to be does have a large part to do with your environment. And when I moved out to the Poconos and I went from being, let's call it 30 black kids in a class, or 30 black and Spanish kids in the class and maybe a few white kids, to the only black kid in the class, or the only black kid in that hallway, or there'd be a few. And as I grew older, there was more and more cultural diversity in the Poconos. it was shocking at first for me, but through trial and tribulation, you learn, number one, how to make friends with people who don't look like you. I think it's so essential, whether you're in your late teens, your mid teens, your early 20s, early 30s. You need to be able to step into a room. You need to be able to step into a room and talk to anybody. I think that with some inner city stuff, whether it's New York, whether it's New Jersey, whether it's Philadelphia, you get so caught up in, all you see is, let's say for me, all you see is black people, and this goes for any type of race or creed or anything like that. All white, all Indian, all Spanish, all Hispanic, whatever you want to call it. You get so used to only having to deal with those type of people that when you put into a situation with other types of people, you get nervous, you get anxious, you're not able to necessarily be yourself. And I'm so thankful that I moved to the Poconos, because it allowed me the chance to meet people who weren't like me. So whether it was, being in sports and making friends with maybe some people who, I came from a more of a urban, inner city type of vibe, but I met some people who were straight up country bumpkins. You know what I'm saying? Country people who, were maybe super religious, where at a time where my family wasn't super religious, or people who came from different cultures. I'm talking about Spanish. I'm talking about Chinese. I'm talking about Asian. I'm talking about people who had different religious views than I did. I've met people who were Mormon. I've met people who were atheists. I've met people who were super religious. And I've been able to, through just life, sports, college, growing up in a place that is, I think, a little bit more diverse as far as different types of people. It's allowed me to, be able to navigate different rooms. And now that I'm an adult, it's one of those things, like I'm all right. You guys are gonna learn this about me, but I'm a, somewhat social person. I don't mind striking up a conversation with anyone. And the way that I've been able to do that is through growing up in situations where maybe the person didn't look like me, maybe the person didn't look like they wanted to talk to me, but being in a situation where I have to talk to someone or I have to learn about someone. So, I highly recommend. I mean, I'm not a parent. I can't tell anyone how to raise their children or anything like that. But if you want to put your child in a position to success, I would put them in diverse situations, because that stuff is so important as you're growing up, in my humble opinion. Self-care is non-negotiable. If there is nothing else you take away from this video, if there is absolutely nothing else you take from this video, understand that self-care is non-negotiable. Self-care is non-negotiable. You can be the best friend. You can be the best lover. You can be the best son. You can be the best daughter. You can be the best parent. None of that is going to be possible if you don't take care of yourself first. Um, some people fall into the category of, some will call it people pleasing. And I do take issue with people pleasing a little bit. I'm not going to lie. For the simple fact that, as a person who I've considered myself to be a people pleaser in the past, you get so caught up in wanting to help someone and wanting to, I don't call it pleasing, but wanting to be there for people or cultivate people, because you think someone can be such a good person in, some relationship terms, or you just want to be a good friend and be always the person who's there. That's fine and dandy. But what comes with that sometimes is that you get into a situation where you're trying to be there for someone so much that you're not taking care of yourself. I've been there. I don't have to go into the gory details, but it's one of those things where you do that long enough and you look up one day and you are in a pit of despair because you haven't taken the time to take care of yourself. That's prioritizing your mental health, your mental well-being. Whether, I think it's very important to work out, take care of your fitness, your physical fitness. One thing you guys will see on my channel, I have gone through a little bit of a transformation. over the past like year and a year and a half with my physical well-being, but also with my mental well-being. But I wasn't mentally where I needed to be. I wasn't physically where I needed to be. Wasn't spiritually where I needed to be. So, had some hard conversations with myself. Rue, let's get out of the closet. Let's get out of the closet. Thank you. Had some hard conversations with myself, and through trial and tribulation, worked to put myself in a better position. But when we talk about self-care, I need some new hangers. As you guys can see, the laundry is getting done. This is the beautiful thing about laundry is that it's just like us. Sometimes shit is all over the place, and you just gotta take time, sit down, and really get it done. And I have laundry every week because I go to the gym a lot, so I'll be doing this every week. But self care, I can't stress it enough that if you want to be the best version of yourself, I strongly believe that it starts with taking care of yourself on any level, whether that's you going to the gym or you taking a walk every morning or you writing down and journaling how you feel about certain things or how you felt at certain situations, whether it's you talking to someone, seeking therapy, speaking with your loved ones or family or friends, and really just taking the time to recognize that maybe you're not in the best place you can be. But self-care is so important, man. Um, Take it from me, take it from any lesson. If you want to get somewhere and you want to be somebody like they said in Sister Act, you got to wake up and pay attention. And that comes with having hard conversations with yourself because when you're in a spot where you're not necessarily taking care of yourself, it's not going to always make the most amount of sense to you to start taking care of yourself. Sometimes you're either going to get to a rock bottom type of place, and sometimes you will, wake up having an epiphany. So just take care of yourself. Like, if there's one thing you learn from the content I put out, is I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to take care of others. I want you to take care in general, but first and foremost, right here for you. Rue, I've been folding for like 20 minutes and I don't need you to come over here and mess it up. You can hang out, but don't mess it up. Embrace change. Now, these are all lessons that people early 20s to early 30s, these are lessons that we all have to be able to learn. And that's why we call it laundry and lessons, because we all got laundry and we all got lessons. So this one's a good one. I actually like. Embrace change. Adaptability is a valuable skill in a fast-paced world. I think we all grow up with these, depending on the environment you come from. And I will say that the environment and the experiences you have as a youth really do frame the way you think about things. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, but sometimes, for me, example, with the background I come from, I had an idea that, not necessarily that shit was just going to be, rose petals and sunshine. But I was at a point a very optimistic person. Things will work out. Everything works out for the best. And I still am a very optimistic person. I just have been through some things that have made me a little more pessimistic and realistic about the idea that maybe sometimes shit doesn't work out. Sometimes shit doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. But you have to, as an adult in this world, be ready to adapt to change. Life takes curves every damn day. It's not, you could be having a great life, and I've seen countless stories of someone gets sick. Maybe you're in a relationship, that relationship ends abruptly. Maybe you have the best job in the world, and for some reason, hell or high water, you end up losing your job. You end up not having any income. Maybe a loved one passes away. Maybe there's a big change as far as your life and what you wake up to every morning. And it's very easy to just want to lay down and say, damn, this has changed and I didn't want it. and I hate it. So I'm going to be in a pit of despair and I'm not going to work towards the things that I've been working towards. But you have to be able to, you know, just understand that even when bad things happen, life goes on. And I'm not saying that life, gets better, but it keeps going, which gives you the opportunity if you put in the work to make it better. Um, I've had some things go on in my life where I was on a certain trajectory, whether it was being in college or being in a relationship or being at a job where I thought, this is nice. Things don't necessarily have to change because I'm cool with the way things are. In every situation that I explained, things changed abruptly. So, I think with growing up, you have to learn that, be ready, because a wise man once said, "There's 100% chance that a bad day is coming." So, what your reaction is to that bad day when it inevitably comes, that's going to say a lot about what you've been preparing for. Whether that's, staying in shape, whether that's just having mental fortitude of, I'm ready for anything. And regardless of what happens today, I'm thankful for every opportunity I get to wake up in the morning and to go make the best of what this thing we call life is. It's so important to be able to do that because adaptability is everything, man. We live in such an ever-changing world in 2024 with all of technological advancements that we have. The world is changing right before our eyes, and it has been for the past 20, 25 years. And I'm 28 years old. I'm going to be honest with you guys. So if you can't, you need to learn to adapt. It is essential to learn to be able to understand that there's going to be some abrupt changes in your life. Don't get me wrong, you get the 1% of people who live this great life and nothing bad ever happens to them. But in my experience, people like that, especially on the younger side, where you've grown up without any adversity and nothing bad happened to you, it doesn't generally do well for you when you get out into the real world by yourself, because shit is going to go left. Like, yes, a lot of things can go right. You can prepare for a lot of things to go right. But shit will go left at some point. At some point. So you need to be ready to take whatever happens. Understand that it happened and it's made to happen. That's how life works, and figure it out. But looks like we're getting down to the nitty gritty of this laundry. I think we've hit a few good topics today, but let's see if we can squeeze in a few more. Let's play a game. It's called Boundaries. Shout out to SpongeBob. Boundaries are so important. Now, boundaries in 2024 is what we call standing on business. When you set boundaries and you stand on business, it's not always going to rub people the right way. In my journey that I've had over this past year and a half of, getting myself in shape, um, everything. In this past year, I've stopped smoking weed. I've stopped drinking to an extent, like very, very here and there. I spend a lot of time at the gym working on myself, working on my fitness. So what comes with that is that sometimes I'll get people who they want to go out to the bar, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys and say that haven't been out in the past year and a half, because I have. But for me, I have set the boundary of sometimes it's just going to be a no, and I'm not going to explain why it's a no, because the reason I don't want to go out and sit at a bar that I've been to a million times and have some drinks and spend unnecessary money and see unnecessary people, and it just doesn't do anything for me personally. For some people, depending on what point of your life you're at, that might be a vibe for you, and that's great if that's a vibe for you. But for me, where I'm at in my life, I'll be honest with you. If I'm going to be going out somewhere, I want to be going on a trip. I want to be going to see something that I've never experienced in my life, talk to people that I've never met in my life and I might not ever meet again. But these familiar places of, you know, your local hometown, small town bar. It just unless it's some very high quality people that mean a lot to me, it doesn't really appease to me. But you should be in a position where you can set boundaries, whether it's with your friends, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in your workplace, whether it's just understanding like you can't, one thing I'm learning as I grow up, you cannot let shit slide. And what I mean by that is, yes, you choose your battle, but whether it's how someone's talking to you or how someone's treating you or maybe a bevy of things as far as like if someone talks to you crazy, like respectfully check them. You don't got to get crazy. You don't got to heighten the situation, but you let them know, hey, I don't appreciate you talking to me like that, and I won't take accept that going forward. Yeah, it's gonna make shit a little awkward, but that's what you need to do for them to understand. Like, yo, I can't talk to this guy like this because he reacted like that, and now I know that doesn't help him. That doesn't make him feel like he's in a comfortable place. You know, because when you don't set those boundaries, it's one of those things where once someone, slights you, someone disrespects you, someone doesn't respect your boundaries, because it's not a boundary until you put it up. Until you set your feet in the sand and tell someone that you don't appreciate how something went down or what you will or will not take going forward, it's not a boundary. You can think common sense is that someone might understand that this thing that they did is not okay. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, everybody comes from different households, everybody is raised vastly different. So that's one thing that comes with growing up too, is that understanding. Yeah, you can think you set boundaries by you maybe making a face or being uncomfortable when someone did something to you. Common sense ain't that common. That's one thing I'm learning as I'm growing up. So set your feet in the sand, create a boundary. That's one thing that people a lot of times forget about with boundaries, is that you have to make the boundary before it's a boundary. We're talking about boundaries a lot here, guys, but I'm just giving out gems here, like these are things that people don't think about, but you need to set that shit. Set your feet in the sand, set up your white picket fence around whatever boundary you want to make, because until you do that, how am I supposed to know? I come from a different background than you. I don't understand things the same you do. People are all different. If you think that someone thinks on the same wavelength as you, just stop. That's not that's not how it works. People come from different backgrounds. People come from different creeds, different religions, different households. Some people grow up with two parents. Some people grow up with one parent. Some people grow up with no parents. Some people grow up with two parents who don't give a fuck about them. Some people grow up with parents who micromanage them. Some people's parents let everything slide. Some people's parents let nothing slide. So stop feeling like Joe Schmo that you met, Mr. Stranger outside in the wild, has the same wavelengths as you or can think the same and come to the same conclusion, because that shit is going to get you in trouble. Let's just be real. I've seen situations where people think they could talk to anybody a certain type of way, but you don't realize that Mr. Tyrone over here came from a background where if somebody says something to him, it's straight knuckles. And so since Mr. Chad wants to tell Mr. Tyrone to get the fuck out of here, yeah, Mr. Tyrone broke Mr. Chad's jaw because Mr. Tyrone doesn't take too kindly to people talking to him like that, like Chad's other friends do. You know? So set those boundaries. Let people know. And you can do it in a respectful way. You know what I'm saying? I don't advocate for anybody, inciting violence or trying to check someone in a way that, makes it feel like that needs to go higher. But you need to set those boundaries and you need to check people. Look at that, man. I think this has been a great session, guys. I think this is going to be something that can help people, because some of these topics, which I think we went over like 3 today, they're topics that people need to hear. These are lessons that we all have learned or will learn or need to learn. So, and I was productive as hell and got this laundry done. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm one of those people who Sometimes it takes me 2 to 3 business days to do my laundry. I won't lie. I'll be honest here. Sometimes I don't enjoy doing the shit. But today I really enjoyed doing it because I had you here with me and we were able to talk about some dope ass topics that I think are going to provide value. I'm going to be posting this to my YouTube, going to chop it up to different sections, post on my social media. You guys feel free to follow me on my social media at CodyCoopCam. I just am here to spread a message of positivity, of transformation, of growth, of entertainment, of laughter, um, and just, help people to understand that, whereas we're all different, we all have so many shared experiences. And if I could help one person get through something, motivate them to do something, make them laugh, show them a cool fit, show them a dope tip, give them a life gem, show them a place that they're going to go one day, then my job here has been completed. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to put away the last of this laundry. But isn't it beautiful how that big pile just goes down? There's something therapeutic about folding laundry and completing a task. I think, not to get too philosophical here, but there's a life lesson to be learned in that. Sometimes, whether it's a problem, whether it's a situation we're going through, it can feel like a huge ass pile of laundry that we'll never be able to get finished with and fold. But with a little bit of time put aside, a little bit of diligence, it's done. And it's not even that hard. So take whatever message you need to from this video. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe at CodyCoopCam for some more. Appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time. And now it's time to go to the gym. And now it's time to go to the gym. And we're done. Oh, that sunshine feels good. Productivity.
CodyCoopCam TV, baby.